Title: Cinderella Swaps. Sister for handsome, disabled, CEO husband. In the grand city of Lumina Heights, where skyscrapers kissed the clouds, there lived a young woman named Ella. She was the kind of person you'd overlook at first glance, modest, kind-hearted, and forever in the shadow of her stepsister, Clarissa. Ella's stepsister was everything society adored, stunningly beautiful, witty, and well-dressed. Their mother, Charlotte, doted on Clarissa, ensuring she had the best of everything, while Ella was relegated to household chores and hand-me-downs. Despite her circumstances, Ella's spirit remained unbroken. She had a quiet grace and a love for simple joys, like reading novels in her tiny attic room or tending to the small garden she'd cultivated in the backyard. It was her escape from a world that seemed to ignore her existence. One morning, the household buzzed with excitement as Charlotte read an invitation aloud. "The Blackwood Foundation Gala," Charlotte exclaimed, her eyes gleaming. "This is our chance to secure Clarissa's future." The gala was hosted by Adrien Blackwood, a reclusive billionaire and CEO of Blackwood Enterprises. Known for his charm, intelligence, and philanthropy, Adrien was a man of intrigue. Following a devastating car accident years ago, he now used a wheelchair. This only added to the air of mystery surrounding him, as few had seen him in public since the incident. Charlotte was determined to make Clarissa the center of Adrien's attention. "Clarissa, this is your moment. You'll wear my finest jewels and the new gown I ordered. We'll show Adrien you're the perfect match," Charlotte declared. Ella watched silently, a pang of longing in her chest. She knew she wouldn't be allowed to attend. On the day of the gala, disaster struck. The gown Charlotte had ordered for Clarissa didn't fit properly. Clarissa threw a fit, refusing to attend. "I can't go looking like this. It's humiliating," Clarissa wailed. Charlotte was beside herself. "We can't waste this opportunity." Her eyes landed on Ella. "You'll go in her place, wear Clarissa's dress, and don't embarrass us. You'll pretend to be Clarissa if anyone asks." Ella hesitated, but ultimately agreed. It was her first chance to step out of her dreary life, even if it wasn't on her own terms. Ella arrived at the gala, her heart racing. The venue was breathtaking, with crystal chandeliers and soft music filling the room. She felt out of place among the city's elite, but couldn't deny the excitement bubbling within her. Then she saw him, Adrien Blackwood. He sat at the center of the room, his sharp blue eyes scanning the crowd. His presence was magnetic, commanding attention without effort. Ella tried to stay inconspicuous, but Adrien's gaze locked onto hers. He maneuvered his wheelchair toward her, a curious smile playing on his lips. "You seem different," he said, his voice deep and soothing. Ella stammered, unsure how to respond. Adrien chuckled. "That's not a bad thing. Care to join me for a drink?" Ella nodded, and they spent the evening talking. Unlike others who approached him with shallow flattery, Ella was genuine. She spoke of her love for literature and her dreams of exploring the world. Adrien was captivated. As the night wore on, Ella realized she needed to leave before anyone uncovered her true identity. "I have to go," she said, standing abruptly. "Will I see you again?" Adrien asked, his expression earnest. Ella hesitated, then whispered, "Perhaps," before disappearing into the crowd. When she returned home, Charlotte and Clarissa were waiting, their faces twisted with anger. "You dare take my place and steal my spotlight?" Clarissa shrieked. Ella tried to explain, but Charlotte sided with Clarissa, punishing Ella by confining her to the house. One Adrien couldn't get Ella out of his mind. Using the gala's guest list, he began searching for her. When he reached out to Charlotte, she lied, claiming Clarissa was the woman he'd met. Excited by the prospect of marrying into wealth, Clarissa played along. She accepted Adrien's invitation to dinner, but he quickly sensed something was off. "You're not the woman I spoke to that night," Adrien said bluntly. Clarissa panicked, but tried to cover her lie. Adrien wasn't convinced. Determined to uncover the truth, Adrien visited Charlotte's home unannounced. He found Ella tending to the garden, her face lighting up with surprise when she saw him. "It's you," he said, relief washing over him. Ella tried to explain, but Clarissa and Charlotte interrupted, accusing her of deception. "I know who I met," Adrien said firmly, cutting them off. "And it wasn't you, Clarissa." Charlotte's plans unraveled as Adrien declared his interest in Ella. Enraged by her failed scheme, Clarissa sought revenge. She teamed up with one of Adrien's business rivals, fabricating a scandal to ruin his reputation. Adrien was arrested on false charges, and Ella was heartbroken. Determined to clear his name, Ella gathered evidence to expose Clarissa's treachery. She worked tirelessly, enlisting the help of Adrien's loyal employees and friends. Ella's efforts paid off. The truth came to light, and Adrien was exonerated. In a public press conference, Adrien credited Ella for her courage and loyalty. "I owe my freedom and my heart to this incredible woman," he said, pulling Ella to his side. As the city applauded, Adrien turned to Ella. "Will you be by my side, not just today, but for all our tomorrows?" Ella nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, always." They married in a private ceremony, beginning a life filled with love, respect, and adventure. Ella's days of being overlooked were over, and Adrien found in her the partner he'd always dreamed of. Together, they proved that true love could overcome any obstacle, leaving a legacy of hope and resilience in Lumina Heights. Ella's life was simple, yet complicated. Though she lived a life of servitude, she dreamed of a love so deep that it would liberate her from her mundane existence. Little did she know, her life was about to take a dramatic turn. The invitation. The city buzzed with news of a grand charity gala, hosted by the elusive billionaire CEO, Adrien Blackwood. Adrien was known for his intellect, philanthropy, and a tragic car accident that left him using a wheelchair. Rumor had it he had never married, and women across Lumina Heights speculated about capturing his heart. Charlotte received an exclusive invitation to the gala, but her focus was on parading Clarissa. "Ella," Charlotte barked, "you'll stay home. Clarissa needs all the attention tonight." Ella nodded, her heart sinking. His name carried an air of mystery and admiration. Known for his sharp intellect, groundbreaking philanthropy, and a tragic car accident that had left him reliant on a wheelchair, Adrien Blackwood was a man of substance and intrigue. His reclusive nature only added to his allure, and whispers about his love life, or lack thereof, fueled the imaginations of women across Lumina Heights. The announcement of the gala sent waves of excitement through the city's elite. Attending meant more than rubbing elbows with the rich and powerful. It was a chance to see Adrien himself, and perhaps to win his attention. In the modest yet well-kept home of Charlotte, Clarissa, and Ella, the arrival of a gilded envelope caused a commotion. Charlotte opened it with theatrical flair, her eyes gleaming as she read the contents aloud. "We've been invited to the Blackwood Foundation Gala," she exclaimed. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Her gaze immediately shifted to Clarissa, her prized daughter. "This is perfect. Clarissa, you'll be the star of the evening. Adrien Blackwood won't be able to resist you." Clarissa smirked, already envisioning herself dazzling at the event. "Of course, Mother. I'll make an unforgettable impression." Charlotte turned to Ella, her demeanor shifting to its usual dismissive tone. "Ella," she barked, "you'll stay home. Clarissa needs all the attention tonight. Make sure her dress is ironed, her shoes are polished, and her hairpins are ready." Ella nodded, her heart sinking. It wasn't the first time she'd been sidelined, but it still stung. She dreamed of moments like this, of stepping out of the shadows and into a world of wonder and possibility. As Charlotte and Clarissa continued planning, Ella retreated to her attic room. She sat by the small window, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. Somewhere in that vast city was a life she longed to live, a world where she could be seen, heard, and loved. But tonight, that world was out of reach, or so she thought. The unexpected opportunity. The days leading up to the gala were a whirlwind of preparations, mostly for Clarissa. Ella worked tirelessly, steaming the golden gown that Clarissa had chosen, shining her shoes until they reflected light like mirrors, and even sewing last-minute adjustments to ensure everything was perfect. Clarissa basked in the attention, frequently checking her reflection and practicing her charming smile. But on the evening of the gala, disaster struck. "What is this?" Clarissa shrieked, holding up the gown. A seam had come undone, a minor tear near the hem, but in Clarissa's eyes, it was catastrophic. Charlotte rushed into the room, her expression frantic. "What happened?" "It's ruined. I can't wear this," Clarissa cried, throwing the gown onto the floor. "Do you expect me to go looking like a joke?" Charlotte wrung her hands, pacing. "We don't have time for this. The gala starts in an hour." "I'm not going," Clarissa declared, folding her arms. "Not unless you magically fix this dress in 5 minutes." Ella, who had been quietly observing from the doorway, took a tentative step forward. "I can fix it. Just give me—" "No," Clarissa snapped, cutting her off. "Even if you did, I wouldn't wear it. I'll look ridiculous now." Charlotte froze, then turned to Ella, her eyes narrowing as an idea formed. "You," she said, her tone sharp. "You'll wear the dress." Ella blinked in surprise. "Me? Yes, you. We can't waste this opportunity. No one will recognize you anyway. You'll go, pretend to be Clarissa, and make sure you don't embarrass us," Charlotte ordered. Clarissa scoffed, looking Ella up and down. "You really think she could pull it off? She's a nobody." "She'll do as I say," Charlotte snapped, then pointed at Ella. "Get dressed, now." A transformation. Ella slipped into the gown, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the fabric. It fit perfectly, hugging her slender frame and shimmering under the light. She hardly recognized herself in the mirror. Charlotte handed her a set of Clarissa's jewelry, and though Ella felt out of place wearing such finery, she couldn't deny the thrill of stepping into a different world, even if only for one night. "You look decent," Charlotte said begrudgingly. "Just remember, you're Clarissa tonight. Speak only when spoken to, and don't do anything to ruin this." Ella nodded, swallowing her nerves. Arrival at the gala. The grand venue was a sight to behold, with crystal chandeliers hanging from high ceilings and a string quartet playing softly in the background. The room buzzed with conversation as elegantly dressed men and women mingled, their laughter and clinking glasses filling the air. Ella stepped out of the car, her breath hitching at the sheer opulence of it all. She felt like an imposter, her heart pounding as she ascended the marble steps. The moment she entered the ballroom, she felt eyes on her. Heads turned, and whispers followed her as she moved through the crowd. Unbeknownst to her, one pair of eyes belonged to Adrien Blackwood. Seated near the stage, Adrien had been quietly observing the room when Ella walked in. There was something different about her, a quiet grace, a softness that set her apart from the polished pretension surrounding him. He leaned toward his assistant. "Who is she?" The assistant scanned the guest list. "Clarissa Montgomery, sir. Daughter of Charlotte Montgomery." Adrien's interest piqued. "Interesting. A chance meeting." Ella wandered through the room, feeling out of place but trying to stay composed. She was admiring a grand painting on the wall when a deep voice interrupted her thoughts. "Beautiful, isn't it?" She turned to see Adrien Blackwood beside her, his wheelchair barely noticeable amidst his commanding presence. His piercing blue eyes held hers, and she felt an inexplicable pull. "Yes," she said softly. "It's mesmerizing." Adrien smiled. "Much like yourself, it seems. I don't recall seeing you at events like these before." Ella hesitated, remembering Charlotte's warning. I prefer quieter settings." "An honest answer," Adrien said, his smile widening. "That's rare here." They began to talk, and for the first time in her life, Ella felt seen. Adrien was attentive, curious, and refreshingly genuine. They spoke about art, literature, and their dreams, losing track of time as the party continued around them. The midnight escape. As the night wore on, Ella's nerves began to resurface. She couldn't stay much longer without risking someone uncovering her secret. "I should go," she said suddenly, standing. "Already?" Adrien asked, his tone tinged with disappointment. Ella nodded, forcing a smile. "Thank you for the conversation. It was unforgettable." "Will I see you again?" Adrien asked, his voice earnest. Ella hesitated, then whispered, "Perhaps," before slipping away into the crowd. Adrien's search for Ella. The gala ended, but Adrien's thoughts remained on the mysterious woman he had met. She was unlike anyone he had encountered before, graceful, genuine, and completely unpretentious. As the night replayed in his mind, he felt compelled to find her again. The next morning, Adrien instructed his assistant, Daniel, to provide him with the guest list. "Clarissa Montgomery," Daniel said, pointing at a name. "She's the woman you spoke with." Adrien frowned slightly. Something didn't sit right with him. Clarissa Montgomery was known in elite circles as vain and self-centered, yet the woman he met was the opposite. Could she really be the same person? "Set up a meeting," Adrien said. Clarissa's deception. Charlotte and Clarissa were thrilled when they received an invitation for a private lunch with Adrien Blackwood. "He must be interested in you," Charlotte gushed. "Don't mess this up, Clarissa." Clarissa smirked, her confidence soaring. "Don't worry, Mother. He'll be mine by the end of the day." Ella escuchó la conversación desde la cocina, su corazón hundiéndose. She didn't want Adrien to be deceived, but she knew she couldn't say anything without facing her stepmother's wrath. The awkward encounter. At lunch, Adrien greeted Clarissa politely, but the moment they began speaking, he realized she wasn't the woman he'd met. Clarissa was boastful, shallow, and uninterested in anything beyond appearances. "I must say, Mr. Blackwood," Clarissa said, twirling a strand of hair, "your foundation is impressive, but don't you think it's time to focus on something more glamorous?" Adrien raised an eyebrow. "Glamorous? Yes, like hosting high-profile parties or launching a luxury brand. Philanthropy is nice, but it doesn't make headlines." Adrien forced a polite smile, but felt his suspicions grow. He decided to play along for the moment. Ella's courage. Meanwhile, Ella wrestled with her conscience. She couldn't let Adrien fall for Clarissa's act. Late that evening, she penned a letter explaining everything: the deception, her role in it, and the truth about who she was. She slipped the letter into an envelope and addressed it to Adrien's office. "I hope he'll understand," she whispered to herself as she sent the letter. The truth revealed. 2 days later, Adrien received the letter. As he read it, a mixture of anger and admiration coursed through him. While he disliked being deceived, he respected Ella's courage in coming forward. "Daniel," he said, setting the letter down, "find out where Ella Montgomery lives and schedule a visit." Confrontation and confession. Adrien arrived at the Montgomery home unannounced, catching Charlotte, Clarissa, and Ella off guard. "Mr. Blackwood," Charlotte exclaimed, rushing to greet him. "What an honor." Adrien's expression was calm but firm. "I'm here to speak with Ella." Charlotte's smile faltered. "Ella? But surely you mean—" "No," Adrien interrupted. "I mean Ella." Ella stepped forward, her cheeks flushing with a mix of fear and relief. "Mr. Blackwood, Adrien," he corrected gently. "May we speak privately?" Ella nodded, leading him to the garden. "I'm sorry," she began, her voice trembling. "I never wanted to deceive you. It was my stepmother's idea, and Adrien held up a hand. "You don't need to explain. I read your letter, and I understand. You didn't belong in that world of lies and manipulation. The woman I met at the gala, the real you, is someone I want to know better." Ella's eyes widened. "You forgive me?" Adrien smiled. "There's nothing to forgive." Clarissa's downfall. Inside the house, Clarissa and Charlotte fumed as they watched Adrien and Ella from the window. "He was supposed to choose me," Clarissa hissed. "Calm down," Charlotte said, though her voice was strained. "We'll find a way to fix this." But their scheming backfired. Adrien exposed their lies to the social elite, and Clarissa's reputation crumbled. The Montgomery household lost its standing, leaving Charlotte and Clarissa to face the consequences of their actions. A new beginning. Adrien and Ella grew closer, their bond deepening as they spent more time together. Adrien admired Ella's resilience and kindness, while Ella was inspired by Adrien's determination and vision. One evening, as they strolled through Lumina Heights, Adrien turned to Ella. "You changed my life the moment you walked into that gala," he said, "and I don't want to imagine a future without you. Will you marry me?" Ella's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes," she whispered. Their wedding was a simple yet beautiful affair, attended by close friends and those who truly cared for them. Together, they built a life filled with love, mutual respect, and a shared desire to make the world a better place. And for the first time, Ella felt truly seen, cherished, and free to be herself. An unexpected twist. As the gala approached, Clarissa's vanity consumed her. On the day of the event, she threw a tantrum when her dress didn't fit perfectly. "I'm not going like this," she screamed, throwing the gown on the floor. Charlotte, desperate not to miss the opportunity, turned to Ella. "You," she sneered. You'll wear Clarissa's dress and go in her place, but don't you dare embarrass us." Ella was stunned. For once, she had the chance to step out of the shadows, even if it wasn't for herself. She slipped into the dress, and for the first time in years, she saw herself in the mirror as someone deserving of admiration. The gala. The gala was dazzling. Chandeliers sparkled, and the room was filled with Lumina Heights elite. Adrien Blackwood sat at the head table, his sharp features and piercing blue eyes commanding attention. Though his wheelchair was a visible reminder of his past, it only added to his air of resilience. When Ella entered, heads turned. Adrien's gaze locked onto her, as if drawn by an invisible force. "Who is she?" he asked his assistant. Ella wandered through the crowd, feeling out of place, yet enchanted by the grandeur. When Adrien approached her, she froze. "You look like you don't belong here," he said with a wry smile. "Ella si rubozo. I don't." "Then let's make our own space," Adrien said, offering her his hand. A connection forms. Over the evening, Ella and Adrien talked about everything, from books to their dreams and fears. Ella's honesty and warmth captivated Adrien. Unlike the superficial women he often encountered, Ella was genuine. As the clock struck midnight, Ella realized she had to leave before Clarissa or Charlotte discovered her. "I have to go," she said abruptly. "Will I see you again?" Adrien asked, his voice tinged with hope. Ella hesitated, then whispered, "I don't know," before disappearing into the crowd. The confrontation. When Ella returned home, Clarissa and Charlotte were waiting. "You think you can steal my life, my opportunities?" Clarissa screamed. Ella stood her ground for the first time. "You gave up the chance to go. I did nothing wrong." Charlotte slapped Ella, but she didn't cry. She had tasted freedom and wasn't going back to being invisible. Adrien's search. Adrien couldn't get Ella out of his mind. He launched a discreet investigation, using the guest list to track her down. Meanwhile, Charlotte learned of Adrien's interest and schemed to push Clarissa into his life. When Adrien's assistant contacted the family, Charlotte insisted Clarissa was the woman he had met. Clarissa played along, claiming she had been too shy to reveal her identity at the gala. The truth unfolds. Adrien invited Clarissa to dinner, but something felt off. She was charming, but her words lacked the depth he remembered. Meanwhile, Ella struggled with her feelings. She wanted Adrien to know the truth, but feared the repercussions. Fate intervened when Adrien overheard a heated argument between Ella and Clarissa during a surprise visit to their home. "You're lying to him," Ella accused. "And what will you do about it?" Clarissa shot back. Adrien entered the room, his expression cold. "I'd like to hear the truth from Ella." The revelation. Ella confessed everything: her identity, her feelings, and her fears. Adrien listened intently, his admiration for her growing. "You're the woman I met," he said, his voice soft but firm. "And I don't care about your family's schemes." Clarissa and Charlotte fumed, but their plans crumbled as Adrien publicly declared his feelings for Ella. In the dimly lit garden behind the Montgomery house, Ella stood before Adrien, her hands trembling. The weight of her confession pressed on her chest, but she knew she had to tell him everything. "I have to tell you the truth," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not Clarissa. I never was. My stepmother sent me to the gala in her place. I didn't want to deceive you, but I had no choice." Adrien's piercing blue eyes never left hers, his expression unreadable. Ella took a shaky breath and continued. Everything you heard from me that night, that was me, the real me. But I understand if you feel betrayed. I never expected you to come looking for me. I never expected any of this. She looked away, her eyes stinging with tears. I'm sorry. I just thought you deserved to know. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. You're the woman I met, Adrien said finally, his voice soft but steady. And I don't care about your family's schemes. Ella's head snapped up, her eyes wide with disbelief. You don't? She asked, her voice trembling. Adrien shook his head, a gentle smile gracing his lips. What matters to me is that the person I connected with that night was you. Not the name on the guest list, not the gown you wore, you. The fallout inside the house. Clarissa and Charlotte watched the scene unfold through the window, their faces twisted in anger. This isn't happening, Clarissa hissed, clenching her fists. He's supposed to be mine. Charlotte paced the room, her mind racing. We won't let this ruin us. We'll tell everyone Ella tricked him. She's just a servant in this house. No one will believe her over us. But before they could act on their scheme, Adrien walked back into the house, Ella at his side. His presence commanded attention, and his words cut through the air with quiet authority. For years, you've manipulated and mistreated Ella, he said, his voice calm but firm. Your schemes end here. From this moment on, neither of you will benefit from my name, my wealth, or my influence. Clarissa and Charlotte sputtered in protest, but Adrien raised a hand to silence them. I've already shared the truth with those who matter, he continued. Ella is the woman I choose, and nothing you say will change that. A public declaration. News of Adrien's declaration spread quickly. At his next public appearance, he introduced Ella as the woman who had captivated him with her honesty, kindness, and intelligence. She is the light in my life, Adrien said, his hand clasping Ella's, and I am proud to stand by her side. The city buzzed with the revelation, and the truth about Clarissa and Charlotte's deception became the subject of whispers and gossip. Stripped of their reputation and influence, the Montgomery women faded into obscurity, left to face the consequences of their own greed. A new beginning, Adrien and Ella's relationship blossomed. They spent their days building a future together, one rooted in mutual respect and genuine love. Ella, who had spent her life in the shadows, now stood confidently in the light, her true self celebrated and cherished. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through Lumina Heights, Adrien turned to Ella, his eyes filled with warmth. You taught me something I thought I'd lost, he said. Ella tilted her head, curious. What's that? Hope, Adrien replied, for a future filled with love, no matter the obstacles. Ella sonrió, su corazón hinchándose. You gave me that hope too. Their story became one of inspiration, a testament to the power of honesty, resilience, and the belief that true love transcends all. Would you like to elaborate on their life after this, or explore more of the challenges they overcame? The threat. Not one to accept defeat, Clarissa teamed up with a jealous rival of Adrien's, aiming to ruin his reputation and relationship. They staged a scandal, accusing Adrien of unethical business practices. When Adrien was arrested, Ella took action. She gathered evidence, proving his innocence and exposing Clarissa's involvement. The happy ending. With Adrien's name cleared, he proposed to Ella in front of the city, calling her his saving grace. "I don't need a fairy tale," Ella said, tears streaming down her face. "I just need you." Adrien smiled. "Then you have me, forever." Ella and Adrien married in a small, heartfelt ceremony. For the first time, Ella lived a life of love, respect, and adventure, proving that even in a city of dreams, true happiness is found in genuine connections.
The Stories book is a captivating collection of tales that traverse diverse genres and emotions, spanning the realms of fantasy, science fiction, romance, and mystery. Each narrative is a journey into the unexpected, weaving intricate plots and compelling characters. With a skillful blend of vivid imagery and thought-provoking themes, this anthology invites readers to explore the depths of imagination and discover the universal threads that connect us all. From heartwarming moments to spine, we hope you enjoyed these captivating video stories. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content like this. Thanks for watching, and keep spreading the video story.